glands, its basic types, and I will be more focused on the endocrine gland. Then in the upcoming lectures I will discuss important endocrine glands in details. So first of all, what is a gland? A gland is a group of cells in animal's body that synthesizes substances such as hormones that are released into the bloodstream in case of endocrine glands. Remember, endocrine glands synthesizes substances which are important chemicals, for example hormones, and these are released directly into the bloodstream, whereas in case of exocrine glands, they have ducts that releases their secretions into the body cavities. For example, stomach is a cavity, and the glands will secrete the secretions, for example directly into a cavity like stomach, which is inside the body, or outside the surface. The glands can also secrete their secretions. For example, sweat glands secretes their secretions directly onto the surface of the skin. So these are exocrine glands and endocrine glands. So basically the definition of gland is a group of cells that secretes hormones which are directly released into the bloodstream. This is a type of endocrine gland. Endocrine glands secrete their secretions into the bloodstream directly, and they do not have ducts, which is important. Endocrine are ductless glands, whereas exocrine glands have ducts that secrete their secretions into the either the body cavities inside the body or outside surface, as I gave examples. Then we proceed forward discussing the basic types. As I said, we have endocrine glands and we have exocrine gland. These are the group of cells as we discussed in the definition. So exocrine glands produces chemicals by these cells, and these chemicals then go on to the via ducts either inside the cavities of the bodies. For example, stomach is a cavity, esophagus is a cavity. So the glands, for example mucus glands in the stomach or in the esophagus, will secrete their secretions inside the cavities, or sweat glands produces their secretions onto the surface of the body. This is the mode of exocrine gland. You have secretions via duct. And then we have endocrine glands, where a group of cells secrete their secretions into the bloodstream. So you see there are no ducts involved in case of endocrine glands. The secretions, that is hormones produced by the endocrine glands, will go into the bloodstream, and the target site is usually far in endocrine gland. In exocrine glands, the target site is very close. The target site is very close in case of exocrine gland. This is an important difference. I will discuss in detail in the next page. I will discuss about the more important differences of exocrine and endocrine glands, but you should have basic concept that endocrine glands secrete the hormones directly into the bloodstream. Exocrine gland uses ducts most of the time. So these are ducted glands, and endocrine glands are, we can say they are ductless gland. Okay, so more importantly, differences of the endocrine and exocrine glands. So as we said, endocrine glands do not have ducts. Exocrine glands have ducts. Secretory products. Endocrine glands produces hormones. Exocrine glands produces sweat. Sweat glands are important exocrine glands, so they will produce sweat. Then enzymes in the stomach, for example, from the pancreas. Mucus, for example, in the esophagus. In the stomach, sebum, sebaceous glands, they are also present on the skin and near the hair follicles. So sebaceous glands, those are also exocrine glands. So these are the secretory products of endocrine and exocrine glands. Then as we said, secretory products are released directly into the bloodstream in case of endocrine glands, whereas the secretions of exocrine glands are secreted into the internal organs, as we said. For example, stomach, duodenum, or esophagus, or external surface, but important thing is through a duct. So via duct there is secretion in case of exocrine glands. In case of endocrine glands, the secretion is direct into the bloodstream. Important examples of endocrine glands, we have thyroid glands, parathyroid glands, pituitary glands. I will also show them in a picture so that you can have a visual view. And important exocrine glands are salivary glands, which pour their secretions into the mouth, that is saliva. And we have pancreatic juices in case of exocrine glands. Liver that secreted bile, so that's an exocrine gland, we can say. Then Brunner's glands, these are in duodenum. Esophageal glands, these are in esophagus. So we will just quickly go through and show each of them. Now our more focus is on the endocrine system. So these are all endocrine glands present inside the human body. Here is a male and here is female, and we have important endocrine glands in each of their bodies. So starting from pineal gland, so this is pineal glands inside the head. Then we have hypothalamus, which is very important. Pituitary gland, below the hypothalamus we have pituitary gland. And then we have thyroid gland, very important in the body. Parathyroid gland, thymus, this is thymus in the mediastinum, this chest region. Then we have adrenal cortex above the kidney, we can see. So adrenal glands, we have adrenal cortex, there are adrenal medulla, both of them secrete hormones. Then we have pancreas. Remember, pancreas is a part of both endocrine and exocrine system. So the endocrine part of pancreas will secrete insulin and glucagon, but the exocrine parts secrete the juices which are important in digestion. So this is an important concept. Then we have testes in case of male and ovaries in case of females. These are also different endocrine organs which secrete the hormones, different hormones giving respective characteristics of male and female in each of them. Then we can go, so this was just brief overview of endocrine gland. Then we have various exocrine glands in the body throughout. Starting from eyes, we have lacrimal glands that secrete the tears in the mouth. Saliva is released by the salivary glands, for example. There are various salivary glands. Then in the skin we have sweat and sebaceous gland. These are all examples of exocrine glands, just to give you a visual view of where in the body important exocrine glands are located. In the stomach we have exocrine glands which secrete the enzymes. In the breast we have production of milk via exocrine glands. In the liver, bile. In the pancreas, as we said that we also discussed in the endocrine, where insulin, glucagon was released by the pancreas. Here important function is juices secreted via the ducts, because exocrine glands are ducted. In the intestine, mucus secretions is also a role of exocrine gland, as we said. So then overall, just overview of what are the general functions of the endocrine systems. So endocrine systems help regulate the homeostasis of the body. Homeostasis means balance in the body. So and metabolism and homeostasis, that's overall function. Now this include homeostasis mean balance of the body, and this include fluid regulation, extracellular fluid regulation. For example, hypothalamus secrete an important hormone, anti-diuretic hormone, which has important role in fluid regulation. We will discuss later on those in detail. In metabolism, they have important role in endocrine. For example, thyroid hormone, growth hormone. These have important endocrine hormones roles in metabolism. Biological clock, pineal gland secrete melatonin, which is important biological clock. This is an important role in sleeping cycle, pineal gland. Then we have contraction of cardiac and smooth muscle, another important endocrine system function. Contraction of cardiac and smooth muscle. For example, epinephrine, norepinephrine are important hormones here. Then glandular secretions. So endocrine system can help regulate glandular secretion. For example, hypothalamus can control the secretions of pituitary gland. This is so the hypothalamus is a master gland. It controls the secretions of the pituitary gland. Then we have immune functions, endocrine system. The most important endocrine system which has a role in immune function is thymus, here in the mediastinum, as we discussed previously. So thymus has a role in immune function, as it is the primary source of T cells. T cells have important role in immunity, adaptive immunity. And then other functions of endocrine systems are growth and development. For example, growth hormone, thyroid, cortisol, all these have important role in growth and development. Insulin, even reproduction, as we discussed, various hormones of the testes and ovaries, they have important role in reproduction. So this is just a brief overview of endocrine system, how it maintains metabolism and homeostasis of the body, and I gave you just important examples of how each endocrine system functions. Then important hormones, an overview of all the important endocrine system and their hormones secreted by them. Just you can have a quick overlook on it. For example, we discussed pineal gland. This is an important role in melatonin production, which has important role in sleep cycle. I'm just giving a brief overview of all the glands and their hormone produced by them. Then hypothalamus, another important endocrine organ, which has a role in secreting thyrotropin releasing hormone, corticotropin releasing hormone, growth hormone releasing hormone. So all these basically control the pituitary gland secretions. Thyrotropin releasing hormone control thyroid stimulating hormone. So hypothalamus basically controls the secretions of pituitary gland. We will discuss in details in the next videos about the control of each of these hormones and their secretions. So this is just a basic concept of how hypothalamus and pituitary gland works in control, or in this forms basically a hypothalamus pituitary axis, where hypothalamus drives the control over the pituitary gland. Then pituitary gland has anterior and posterior pituitary gland, which secrete important hormones like growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, adrenal hormone. Then we have, these are all secreted from the anterior pituitary. From posterior pituitary we have oxytocin and vasopressin. These are from posterior pituitary. And then we have parathyroid gland. Parathyroid glands are a group of 4 glands, we can say 4 glands. Just behind the thyroid gland we have parathyroid glands. They hide behind the thyroid, anatomically I'm talking. Then parathyroid glands, they secrete important hormone. Parathyroid secrete parathyroid hormone, and thyroid gland secrete T3, T4, which are thyroid hormone, calcitonin also. They have important role in metabolism. Then we have thymus, as we discussed, important role in T cells production, primary source of T cells production. Thymopoietin, important hormones which drives the control over the T cells. Then we have liver, which secrete important hormones, for example insulin like growth factor. We have stomach, which has important hormone like gastrin, and many others here are written, but important one, for example gastrin, somatostatin. We have adrenal gland that secrete hormones like androgens, glucocorticoids, adrenaline, noradrenaline. Remember, we have adrenal cortex and medulla, where it's the adrenal medulla which secrete adrenaline, noradrenaline. Then we have pancreas. We said that it's both exocrine and endocrine. Here our concern is endocrine, so the endocrine hormones are insulin, glucagon, somatostatin. Then kidney can also form various hormones like calcitriol, which is a vitamin D. Basically it's the activation of the vitamin D, a activated form. Calcitriol, renin, erythropoietin, important role in RBCs production. And then ovaries and placenta have important hormones like estrogen, progesterone, important role in reproduction, as we discussed in the functions. Testis produces androgen estradiol, where androgen has important role in driving male characteristics, giving the male features. And uterus produces prolactin, relaxin. All these are important hormones which are related to the female's reproductive system, its growth, development, and reproduction. So that's just a brief overview of all the endocrine glands in the body. And then in the next lectures we will discuss in details about each of the important endocrine glands like pituitary gland, thyroid, parathyroid, and pancreas. And all the important endocrine glands will be discussed in detail, their functions, anatomy, physiology.